Have you ever looked closely at those old photographs from the 19th century? New York, Chicago, San Francisco. The buildings are enormous, the architecture flawless, like palaces built by giants. But something is missing. Did you notice? Where are the people? Why are these enormous streets completely empty? Why are the buildings works of art while the roads are covered in mud? We were told these cities were newly built. So where are the construction workers? Could there be a dark secret behind this silence that history books don't tell us? Today, we will unveil one of the most mysterious pages of history: orphan trains. Official history tells us that between 1854 and 1929, a massive social experiment was conducted in America. 250,000 children. You heard that right. More than 250,000 children were rounded up from cities on the East Coast, put on trains, and sent inland to families they had never met. The story we were told was this: it was a charity campaign. It was giving a new life to poor children on the streets. But what if these trains weren't just a convoy of aid? What if this was an operation marking the end of one civilization and the beginning of another? The first question we need to ask here is, where did all these children come from? 250,000 children. That's the entire population of a modern, medium-sized city. We've been told that families were poor, dying from disease, or unable to care for their children. But use your logic. Is it normal for a society to produce 250,000 orphaned children in just a few decades? Look at the photos. Why are there no adults? Why are orphanages and abandoned hospitals overflowing? The official narrative tells us poverty. But a skeptical mind asks, what happened to the adult population? Did something wipe them out, leaving the children behind? Or were these children the last remaining heirs of a forgotten catastrophe, a population wiped out? At this point, the population reset theory comes into play. When you look at old buildings around the world, you see a strange detail. The windows, half of them buried in the ground, starting below pavement level. We were told these were basements. But who puts their windows in the ground? What if these buildings were buried? According to the theory, a global catastrophe occurred in the mid-19th century, a mud flood. This catastrophe buried the previous advanced civilization and wiped out a large portion of the adult population. What was left? Huge, empty cities and orphaned children. Perhaps the orphan trains weren't a charity operation after all. Or perhaps this was a repopulation project designed to disperse the survivors into empty cities, severing them from their pasts and using them as a labor force. When you call children orphans, you erase their past. You give them new names, a new history. And so the old world is forgotten forever. The story doesn't end there. Remember another oddity from the same period: baby incubators. At the world fairs of the early 1900s, premature babies were displayed as objects of entertainment. People bought tickets to watch these babies. We were told this was medical technology. But why in the fairgrounds? And why were there thousands of babies? Some researchers ask a darker question. What if these machines were used not just to keep people alive, but to rapidly increase the population? Empty cities needed to be filled. A generation was needed to run the factories, to cultivate the fields, orphan trains and incubators. Could these be the cornerstones of a new order built on the ruins of the old world? Look into the eyes of those children in the photographs. Are they just poor orphans? Or are they the lost children of an empire whose memory has been erased? They say history is written by the victors, but sometimes fragments of the truth are hidden in an old photograph, a buried window, or a train carriage. What do you think? Does the history we are told reflect the whole truth? Or are these children here evidence of a past hidden from us? What do your eyes tell you? If you want to delve deeper into these kinds of mysteries, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and share your thoughts in the comments. Maybe we can find the truth together.